What's up, guys? That's it here, bringing you another VGC 2015 battle. You can see my team on the bottom left-hand side. It's going to be Zapdos, Milotic, Kang, Heatran, Amoonguss, and Landorus fighting off against X-Fix on the top right. Going to be using that Lucario, Suicune, Zapdos, Scizor, Sylveon, and Terrakion. Both these teams are pretty standard, but my opponent does have Lucario in his team, and with Scizor being the only other Pokemon he has that could potentially Mega, I'm generally thinking this is going to be a Mega Lucario. He definitely has a team for it. Two potential Tailwind setters, and other than having a Mega Lucario, he just has a ton of Pokemon that can check my Kang. So as long as I don't let my Kangaskhan go one-on-one with Terrakion and Lucario, I should be okay. So we're going to start this one off and see how it goes. See me leading off with Amoonguss and Landorus. This is going to be a team that I'm potentially going to be taking to regionals, so I'm taking all these games super seriously, and we're going to see my opponent lead off with Zapdos and Terrakion. So like I said, very standard board here, and getting that Intimidate on Terrakion is very, very big for me turn 1. Now, I'm going to withdraw turn 1. I'd rather not eat a, Choice Scarfed HP Ice, because that's really bad, and there's nothing I really want to stay in for. So we're going to see him go for a Protect, and I think he's also going to go for a Tailwind. Generally the expected play there, and that's fine. It's also going to be fine that I Spore the Zapdos. Whenever you see a team like that and you think they're going to go for a Tailwind, you always want to Spore the Tailwind user, and this sets up for a really, really good turn 2 for me. I go for a Rage Powder to make the Terrakion have to attack my Amoonguss, which he does. He's not cold in the safety goggles. He gets poisoned, but he doesn't take, and he takes Rock Helmet damage. But that's not really relevant here, I guess. We're also going to see, Zapdos go for the sleep, and Kangaskhan is going to follow it up with a low kick. So, like I said, the poison didn't really matter. Neither did the Rock Helmet damage. But what did matter is that I redirected the attack into Amoonguss and saved my Kangaskhan. But they're going to see Suicune come out here, which is a very questionable choice, considering, King has a great match against both these Pokemon. I'm going to go for Rage Powder just because I don't want to eat a Scald in the face, and, he definitely expects that and goes for just an Ice Beam on my Amoonguss. Luckily, he gets the freeze, so Amoonguss is going to be frozen solid for a few turns, while Zapdos eats a Double Edge and procs its Citrus Berry. So Zapdos is going to be left at 25%, but it's not something I can't take out next turn. So starting off turn 4, I go for a Sucker Punch, but it doesn't work. He obviously tried to go for a Protect. You can see that he moves first this turn. And, that's a little bit unfortunate, but I should be fine, because this should be the last turn of the Tailwind. So you see Amoonguss is still going to be frozen, but, Amoonguss definitely did its job. It put the Zapdos to sleep and, made the Terrakion have to attack it with a close combat. So Amoonguss definitely did its job. We're going to see Zapdos go down to the start of turn 5 to a Double Edge. I'm going to take just a little bit of recoil, and Suicune is going to then finish off my Amoonguss. Goodbye, sweet prince. But that's just in time for, me to clean up with the rest of my Pokemon. So I'm going to send out Landorus here, potentially lay down another Intimidate on that Lucario if he decides to bring it, which he does. So Lucario is going to eat the Intimidate. And one thing to note about Lucario is you never actually know if they're physical or special until they make their first attack, because it has such high stats. So first turn, we're going to see him go for a Protect here. And I'm going to go for Protect with my King, just playing it super safe here. And you're going to see my Landorus then go for a U-turn on Suicune. I always want to tell you that when you're going to U-turn against something, you always want to U-turn against the threat that is on the board. So I'm not afraid of Lucario with Landorus, but I am afraid of Suicune with Landorus. So I'm always going to U-turn into that slot whenever I want to go out of there. I could have just switched to been safe, but doing the U-turn there is definitely a little bit greedier play. And I went into Heatran. So then I'm going to switch my Kang out, because obviously the reason why I switched, because I'm going to try to layer on these Intimidates. I also think he's going to use a fighting type attack, so I switch my Kangaskhan out for Landorus, and he did Aura Sphere, so it was a special Lucario, which is definitely uncommon, but not bad at all. You're going to see my Heatran eat a Scald, but it's nowhere near getting the KO, and then Heatran is going to fire off a super strong AoE Heat Wave, getting the KO on the Lucario, and getting great damage off on the Suicune. It's at this point that I have 3 Pokemon left, and, my opponent is out of his Mega, his last Pokemon Suicune, and he's going to decide to forfeit right there. So this wasn't a very long battle, but what it did show was proper use of switching, U-turning the correct targets, and playing a great turn 1 against a very standard team in Terrakion Zapdos. Remember, always go for the Spore on the target who is using Tailwind, and always U-turn on the target that can always KO you back. Let's say the board was like Suicune and like a Celebi. I know that they're not legal in VGC, but something that's 4 times weak against Bug. You never really want to U-turn into that slot, even though it's such a great target. You always want to U-turn. If you're using U-turn as a damage dealer, that's a different thing overall, because I guess Landorus doesn't have that many good moves against Celebi other than U-turn, but if you want to use U-turn to preserve your Pokemon that is using U-turn, you always want to use it on the Pokemon that checks, your U-turner. So like I said, you always want to U-turn, on the Suicunes, onto the Rotom Washes, onto the Greninjas, and actually that happens to be super effective. They happen to be weak against anyway, so that's also like that's a 2-for-1, I guess. So anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching the battle. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.